everybody. I hope you guys are doing great. My name is Jackie, if you're new to my channel. We're going to talk about the nodes. We're going to talk about the nodes. They're changing tomorrow. Right now, right? We're doing this on Saturday. Tomorrow, from tomorrow the 11th, I believe tomorrow is, all the way to July 26th of 2026. We're going to be, is it tomorrow? It's today the 10th or the 11th? It doesn't matter. It's Saturday. Until July 26th of 2026. The North Node is going to be in Pisces and the South Node is going to be in Virgo. Right now, we have, instead of it being in Virgo, we have it in Libra, right? We have the South Node in Libra and we have the North Node in Aries. So this is going to be an 18-month transit. I'm going to start the video with a light explanation of what the nodes are. Then I'm going to discuss what the North and South Node in Pisces and Virgo look like. And then I'm going to break it out into what you could expect for each of the individual signs. So a couple of things. I'm going to explain the South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces at the beginning of the video. Then I'm going to apply that sensibility because that's the what, right? The what is going to be explained in the nodal transit, as is always with planets, right? What is the what? But then we have to understand the where, right? And that's where I'm going to be breaking it out individually into houses for each of the signs and things to consider. So you do want to listen to this first part having to do with what the Pisces and Pisces and Virgo axis means, and then jump to your sign. Okay. I'm not saying you have to listen to the whole video, but at least get that part done. Okay. Last thing, if you like my work, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing. And if you want to work with me privately, the details to my booking site is located in the description box below the video. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about the North and South Node in general. Now, again, this is not going to be a full video on the nodes. If you do want me to do a full extended video on all the nodes and the nodal placements, let me know in the comments below. But for the purposes of this video, let's understand that the South Node has to do with two things, right? We can't only look at it. It has to do with destiny and karma, the nodal energies, right? They're the nodes of the moon, right? In short, the South Node we look at through two different lenses. One, what have our ancestors left us with to work out and deal with? What do we carry into our energy having to do with our ancestors, our ancestral patterning, right? What's still kind of floating in our DNA, in our cells, right? From grandma, from great, 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 great grandma, great, 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 great grandpa, right? Doesn't really matter the gender, it matters more about that ancestry. So that's on one level. Really looking at that energy that we bring into our life, as well as our experience early in life. You know, what are we exposed to that becomes comfortable? Sometimes dysfunctional things, we know that they're not good, they become comfortable, right? And I don't want to make it about Chiron, but they're all very connected, right? To this very early exposure to different types of energy, what's comfortable, what's not. And so we have that energy, right? What are we bringing in because of our ancestors, and what are we sort of living out early in our life based on our environment and what we understand to be the way to be? All right. This is very our South Node. It's comfortable. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. We're not even judging. We're not labeling it good or bad. It just is. So there's that. But then there's also a connection, and it depends where you stand on this point, having to do with reincarnation. So if you believe, because not everybody does, but it is these 2 points, you know, how many past lives, what's very connected to that space. I'm going to be honest with you guys, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't believe in reincarnation, or you're like on the fence, you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know enough, it doesn't matter. You just have to understand that the past equals the way your default system works. It's informed from or by where you are from. Now, you're going to have a hard time finding even a scientist that would disagree with that, right? And, you know, we could get into this existential question of nature versus nurture. It's not about that. It's more about what is that default situation, right? That we sort of fall back to. That's why it's really important to understand your nodal energies. So that's the South Node, right? Where it is that we sort of comfortably fall back to that may not be that great, right? The North Node, on the other hand, is a very destiny-driven energy, whereas the South Node is very connected to karma and karmic lessons that we have to work out. Destiny-driven energies in the North Node are push us out of our comfort zone. There's nothing comfortable about the North Node. Sorry, I have a terrible little cold. I'm fine, but oh, by the way, thank you for all of your well wishes. Look at this. Woohoo! Very exciting. I haven't been able to do this in a couple of months. Surgery went well. I don't want to make it about that. But let's talk about this North Node is being pushed out of your comfort zone. It's adapting a different way of thinking. That's not comfortable. It's like, okay, I get that idea. I know I need to do that. Wow, am I either scared, uncomfortable? I don't feel like I have the tools in my toolbox. I feel like I don't have the ability to complete that, to manifest that. That's not meant for me. All of these fear-based conversations show up in North Node energy. We don't look at it like that a lot of times, right? A lot of times, especially in these general readings in YouTube, it's like, oh, North Node is all about positive. It is positive, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's positive in that it's where you're meant to be aiming, right, in life. So you have to understand that. Now that has to do with your natal nodes. So check out your birth chart, right? Understand the little horseshoe, the up, the upside down horseshoe and the upright one. That's the north and south node. They always work opposite each other in the chart to an exact degree. So this is where we have to balance out. Another big mistake that a lot of astrologers make is they say, whatever the South Node is, it's about excretion and letting go and getting rid of. No, it's not. You can never get rid of your South Node energy. You can't get rid of it in your birth chart, and you can't get rid of it even in a transit. It's not about that. It's about balancing out, because what happens is when we have the two nodes, that south node is so much easier. It's more cozy. It's more comfortable. It doesn't matter that it's not good for us. It's more comfortable. So that's where we kind of like get comfortable in there. But this one, north node, not comfortable. We have to move away from our comfort zone and stand in the middle of our chart to balance it out. So it's not about getting rid of the south node. It's about saying, I can't let that dominate my experience anymore when it comes to the path that I'm walking on right now in my life. I can't let that dominate. I can't get rid of it, but I have to be able to put that in perspective and lean more into that North Node energy. Get out of my comfort zone and push myself to be uncomfortable in order to grow. Right? Because this is the reality. Whether you're not working your North Node and South Node energy in your birth chart or even in the transit, and I've said this over and over again, you're going to end up seeming like you're mastering something. So, I mean, there's a saying where if you don't work your nodal energies, you live the life of mastery and you die a fool. You die a fool because you're not going after what it is that you're meant to be going after. Now, we have that position in our natal chart, yes, but we also have it that it comes in 18-month transits. And we're meant to grow, guys. We are meant to grow, right? So we just had the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So we were meant to really reevaluate our relationships, reevaluate how we do our work, our energetic output at work as far as what do we do, looking at our relationship with bosses, looking at relationship with our doctors, looking at the fair and balance and the justice in our life. Right. I'm really trying to balance this out and recognizing that this is a time period where we have to start fresh. We have to take a new approach to life. It depends on the house that you have it in, but that was the general theme. That was the general theme that we've been living with for the past 18 months. Now we're going into a different energy. It's changing houses, but it's also changing signs. So let's unpack what it means to have, I'm going to say, the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, and or the North Node in the 12th house, which is where Pisces lives, and or the South Node in the 6th house. So this first part I'm going to ask those of you who have, especially an Aries ascendant or sun, to pay extra attention to this part when we're talking about the general energies of Pisces Aries, okay? And then I'm going to break it into even more specifics for you guys. But let's talk about this, okay? What it is that we have to avoid. We all, as a collective, we have to pay attention to our very strong tendency during this next to 18-month period is this compulsive need for order for the next 18 months. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because we just had Pluto move into Aquarius. We all feel the world is changing. We all feel it. I mean, we've all been feeling it. By the way, can we just say blessings to our friends and family in Los Angeles? I have a lot of family there, and these fires. This is so Pluto opposing Mars. Mars rules fire. This is so Pluto opposing Mars, riding on the cusp between Cancer. That Mars dipping back between Cancer home. Mars is very family orientated in Leo. Leo, California is Leo, right? California, the state of California is a Leo energy. So, no shocker from an astrological perspective, but so horrible for so many of them. Anyway, let's get back to this. So this compulsive need for order, where you could say, in order for me to be okay, in order for me to survive and be okay, everything has to be in order. But this is where the tricky part comes. It becomes very subjective, where it's according to your own personal worldview and how you think things should be and how you think others should behave. Depending on the part of your chart that it's going to hit, I'm going to get to that in a few minutes, but it could be having to do with that job, having to do with that relationship, having to do with that legal situation, whatever it is, where you want that idea of order, control, perfection. That's all about Virgo, right? And that's where we have to balance things out. We have to let go a little bit. We have to loosen our belt there, right? Where you could say to yourself, if only the people around you were more perfect, then you could relax and you can trust a lot more honestly, right? If they could get their crap together, then you would be okay, right? It's that kind of energy. But it ends up being this self-defeating situation, right? This bottomless pit, if you will, right? Because life and people and circumstances and situations are never in a static state of perfection long enough for us to feel secure. Right. So our expectations are always let down, and it always leads to this constant tension, constant anxiety. And this is what we have to look at again, because others and life in general never going to be ideal enough for us to feel like we can let go. We can do these things. So what happens is we end up continuously postponing happiness, joy, our dreams, trust, that healthy relationship, feeling like we can have a healthy and really beautiful experience in work. Whatever it is, whatever part of life we're going to talk about for each of your signs, but it is that energy. Now, the bottom line here involves accepting that the universe and God or whoever it is that you believe in has a better plan for you. Things are unfolding exactly how they're meant to unfold, regardless of how it seems, regardless of the sticking points, regardless of any sort of painful situations, regarding anything like that. The only place that you can create this idea of perfect peace, of this ideal landscape, is going to be within yourself and surrendering and kind of really giving it over to God. I mean, this really is about giving it over. Pisces is very connected to prayer, very connected to our dreams, but it's where the veil is very, very thin between worlds. Right? So we could say that Sagittarius in the ninth house rule religion, but prayer is very ruled by the 12th house and by Pisces energy. So it really is about giving it over to God, trusting that everything is absolutely in order, no matter how out of order it may seem in the moment. And the irony here is that when you blindly trust in a higher energy, in the fact that, and let's say you don't believe in a God, in a creator, You have to believe in the energy of life, that everything is unfolding exactly how it's supposed to. And that's the irony is when you have that blind faith and that blind trust, then that's when things start to work out and you accept that everything contributes to the greater plan, to your greater happiness. You suddenly can see the larger picture. You suddenly start to have the chips fall into place and things start to make more sense, and you can let go of control and you can ultimately be happy. Because what you ultimately want in this energy is you want to be right all of the time, and you want to have this perfect sense of things, that everyone is following the plan completely, 100% of the time. You want everybody to be in alignment with your plan, your subjective plan. And I know that sounds messed up. And we could all say, no, 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 I'm a lot more loving and giving than that. I'm a lot more fill in the blank. Okay, in this energy, no, you're not. And there's no malice involved. It's all about saying, oh my gosh, there is so much change going on. This makes me feel sort of not fully grounded. That's scary. I think I have a pretty clear, healthy idea of how things should be. Let me try to implement this. Okay, hold on a second. Person A, person B, person D, Z, it doesn't matter, is not following my plan. And that's making me uncomfortable, right? So we have to really look at that. Right, because Pisces rules enlightened states of consciousness and feeling that, right, it rules the deepest ocean. So it's like this kind of deep, the deepest, the bottomless oceanness of life, and feeling at one with all of life. And what does that mean in regular words? It means really recognizing like everybody's got their own emotions, everybody's got their own space that they're coming from. It's truly like this idea where we genuinely are, for real, all brothers and sisters. We're all experiencing this level of consciousness together. It's not just about us. So this should really be an exercise in extreme empathy and understanding that, but not throwing ourselves under the bus at the same time. Very important. Because remember, Pisces is the twin fish going in opposite directions. So on the one hand, unconditionally loving and giving. On the other hand, the other fish is all about self-sabotaging behavior. And with the North Node, it's like, okay, hold on. I'm not letting myself be taken advantage of anymore. I'm not letting myself be victimized anymore. I'm letting go of victim mentality. I am nobody's victim in life. Really embracing that. This is about recognizing that sometimes lousy things happen to really good people. Sometimes it is about recognizing that it is about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, looking for the lesson and saying, I'm not a victim to this. I'm not going to let this define my entire story. I'm going to look at the closed doors and say, where are the windows? Not to be too cheesy, but looking for solution, right? In a very open and loving way, because after all, Virgo is the problem solver of the zodiac, but Virgo is also very critical. So we don't want to be so critical to the point of, because the South Node of Virgo, get rid of the shadow manifestation of Virgo, that critical energy, and really embrace the problem-solving energy of Virgo. And not allowing yourself to sit idle and say, I am a victim. I am a victim because person A, B, and C will not act that way in relationship. My boss does this, that, or the other thing in work, or my friend did this or this or that happened to me in this external thing. Okay, all of those things might be true. Now what? You cannot forget to remember yourself during this 18-month period. You have to go for your dreams. Don't be afraid to actually try to solidify what it is that you really want in that particular area of your life, and to really go after that, in a very practical way. Working alone is beautiful for this 18-month period. Focusing on your own work, if you're able to do that, that would be really, really great. Generally speaking, when it comes to our work, when it comes to, because it does involve Virgo, we're able to really focus on very pertinent details that are going to be impactful for our day to day. We're able to recognize details, we're able to problem solve. We just want to make sure that we're not getting in our own way. So, generally, right, for the collective, especially if you're an Aries rising, any sort of tendency to leave behind over these next 18 months, hyper anxiety, overanalysis, obsessive worry, exaggerating important details, like, oh my gosh, it's never going to work if we don't, do this first. Maybe we do that third and the world won't fall apart, right? Really focusing on that. Critical first reactions, being perfect, excessive anxiety over making a mistake, inflexibility, and staying in unpleasant circumstances. So important. We have to let that go, right? And attributes to develop, being not judgmental, being compassionate, surrendering anxiety to a higher power, welcoming change, and trusting in absolutely positive outcomes. Okay, guys, so that is what that energy represents. Okay, now let's kind of talk more specifically about each of the signs. We are going to start with our Aries friends. Okay, Aries, so that whole first part of the video is for you because you are having the Pisces North Node in your 12th house and you're having the Virgo South Node in your 6th house, right? Because as an Aries rising, all of the signs are in their natural home, right? To most of you may know that about yourself. But this is going to be a very introspective kind of energy for you guys, for sure. You might even feel like right now you're meant to be alone. You're meant to be in this space of introspection. Is as this North Node enters into Pisces, it's really going to light up that 12th house of self-undoing, of isolation. And it's also, as I mentioned a few moments ago in the opening, the spirit realm. It's where the veil is very, very thin between worlds. We call the 12th house the house of the hidden, the house of endings. We look at how we've ended things in our life. It's also the house of the nurse, of the caretaker. It's the house of prison, the house of drug rehab, any sort of rehabilitation, a homeless shelter. Because if you think about the commonality of all of these things, they're all about taking somebody that needs help and helping them be better. So the North Node in Pisces could actually really encourage you to be very helpful to people who truly, truly are in need of help, right? Are in need of help. And now, sort of, pairing this up with what I was saying before, you don't want to allow the idea that you can have a really clear idea of what needs to be done in order to help somebody in need. Don't be too frustrated that they're not going to be perhaps responding to you straight out of the gate. It's this idea of balancing out what you know to be true versus with what somebody else might need. But the energy of independence and doing things a particular way is definitely going to be amplified. So don't be surprised if what is typically a very extroverted energy that you have. Now, again, it does depend on your personal birth chart, what retrogrades you have in the first house. If your Chiron is in there, that can end up debilitating your Aries energy. But typically, Aries energy is very extroverted. It's very, come on, let's go. It's very energized. It's very motivated. That could dwindle a little bit over the next 18 months. But what's interesting is it's not going to feel too uncomfortable for you because there's something that's shifting inside of you. That North Node in Pisces is going to help you find solace in yourself as you go within and you really try to reflect on how you perceive and how you ultimately navigate your life. You're going to be looking at your self-sabotaging tendencies. You're going to be looking at where do you allow yourself to be taken advantage of? Because it's dual. Remember, it's Pisces, right? So it's the twin fish going in opposite directions. Where do you give too much of yourself? But then also, where do you self-sabotage yourself? Now, that North Node Pisces 12th house energy is where addiction hangs out. So some of you can be really understanding where do you not have a healthy relationship with fill in the blank, whether it's alcohol, drugs, nicotine, food, sex, shopping, money, whatever it is, right? For some of you, it could be that, right? Um, Letting go, though, of that critical energy when it comes to, I have to have everything perfect in perhaps your home, right? Because that Virgo energy that you have to balance out, that critical energy in your sixth house of daily responsibilities, your daily work environment, but it's also your health. So there might be something that you're doing in an obsessive way or in an unhealthy way that needs balancing out, having to do with your health. So if it doesn't have to do with addiction, there might need to be some sort of balancing out having to do with your diet or going to the doctor to have that situation checked out, having to do with whether it's allergies or your mental health or something that's sort of been lingering underneath the surface. It's time to truly get in front of it, right? Because that 12th house Pisces energy is very connected to disease and disease. And when the North Node traveling there, it could manifest something in that space that's meant to sort of be revealed to you opposite the sixth house of your health in order for you to take care of it. So I don't want you to worry about it so much as just understand that if something arises over the next 18 months, don't ignore it and make sure that you're getting it checked out at the doctor. But you are definitely going to be very reflective on how you perceive again and perceive and navigate life. You may have incredible private realizations about who you are at your core. Again, this too giving, this not giving enough. As you internally grow throughout the nodal cycle, throughout the next 18 months, you're going to likely notice that your subconscious approach to life is going to change. You're not even going to realize it straight out of the gate. It's a slow change over an 18-month period. Your intuition, your understanding, your compassion for others is going to grow. So where you haven't had a lot of patience or even a lot of I want to say like the eyes to see what some people are going through, you're going to be able to, right? At more so at this point, you may become more spiritual, especially if you pay attention to spiritual messages, numbers, smell, strange smells that are not appropriate to the circumstance. Um, you may find yourself leaning a lot more into prayer, gravitating a lot more strongly to tarot, really becoming very interested in tarot and crystals and meditation and Reiki. Those are all very Piscean things, very Piscean things. Less so astrology, because astrology is more Scorpio. It's more Pluto, Scorpio, kind of even Mars energy, right? And Mars is your ruler, but with this Pisces North Node energy, you may become more involved in that spiritual realm. Um, but as you enjoy this time, and again, it's very faded time. It's always faded when we're talking about the nodes, but it's a faded quiet time for you. It's a faded introspective time for you. This is going to be helping you to become more aligned with your soul essence, like that soul energy, because the 12 Pisces is very connected to the moon as well. So you may even feel very connected to mother energy, whether she's still here or not. It doesn't matter. Um, but really connected to your soul purpose and what it is that you're meant to develop or evolve into, during this time around in this life. But anyway, so I hope that was helpful for you guys. Remember, it's an 18-month transit until July 26, 2026. And I hope this was helpful in some way. Take care, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, Taurus. So let's open this up for you. Who's going to be coming into your life, Taurus? The North Node is going to be in your 11th house of friendships, group work, networking, your goals and gains. It's very connected to technology, your future, advances in science, advances in medicine, um, the masses, right? Very connected here. So with the North Node in Pisces, your social circle is probably going to ultimately end up changing as that North Node in Pisces enters that 11th house space of greater community, of friendships, of aspirations, even of goals and gains. So you can meet a lot of people here who ultimately end up. Let me be clear about goals and gains. It's like, am I going to have enough money for retirement? Am I going to have enough money for the long term? It's not so much today, the money in your bank account. It's about over time, right? When we're talking about 11th house money. But very faded connections are going to grow during this nodal transit. Now, you could meet a lifelong best friend who will be there for you through thick and thin. This is a very faded, very destiny-driven kind of meeting up. A lot of old friends could also resurface and come back from the past if they're meant to be part of this next chapter of your life. Friends of friends could be part of your community. You know what I mean? Like you meet people and then they have a group and then you end up becoming friends with them. But it's this idea of expansion through community. And since your social circles will grow, you're likely going to be receiving a larger network of people even online. So if you're a creator online, that'll be expanding. If you're just on social media, that'll be expanding. Just this idea of expansion. You could even be working online, having to do, having to do with work, even though, maybe you're working from home, having your own business, but you're not working like in person so much. It's more of like an online kind of thing. Now, besides this, you're going to feel a lot more hopeful about pursuing your dreams, and it's also going to help that Uranus is finally moving out of your sign, right? It's starting the move this summer in July into Gemini. It's going to dip back, it's going to go forward, right? But it is starting to move out. So there's going to be this lightness, which will be really nice for you, I think. But hopefully your community will be there to support you and give you a handout or a leg up if for those of you who might need, as you're continuing forward. In your life. Now, it is that North Node in the 11th house is opposing the fifth house of our children. So remember, the nodes are always about like balancing out, balancing out. So the 11th house also, as far as people, it's not only friends and groups and networks, it's also our daughter-in-laws, our son-in-laws, stepchildren, grandchildren, and older siblings, okay? On a more, within a more personal scope. So the next 18 months can be very connected to like one of your children and their spouses, or one of your children and grandchildren. Maybe they're having children, right? Maybe destiny-driven energy. Maybe you're going to have a grandchild. Um, Maybe you're going to become a step parent as well, because the 11th house is very connected to stepchildren, right? And so it could certainly be anything like that. But all of that being said, there's going to be this underpinning energy where you have to be careful of having this real strong need for approval, where you're like, my survival depends on others giving me approval, and thinking that, if you have other people's approval, then you're on the right track. Because there is this strong desire to make new friends, to get involved in a new way of life, but you don't want to be a doormat. You don't want to be a victim. You don't want to be taken advantage of. At the same time, again, it's always about balance, right? You're never going to be able to get enough approval in this 18-month transit to feel fully satisfied, to fully feel like you are free and okay to be your full Taurian self. You're just not going to feel it, right? And that's okay, right? That's so a false barometer if everybody around you likes you, because then you're always going to feel like you have to put that face on. Be authentically who you are. So important, right? And this is the thing. You could say, oh, Jackie, no, no, no. I am who I am. I am. I am who I am, and I'm always like that, depending on what's in your chart. That's what I am. But this is the thing. With this 18-month transit, there could be a tendency to people please. Because Pisces is very unconditionally loving. And in the 11th house of friends and connections, it's like, oh, I want to love you. I want to get, well, you want to make sure that you're balancing out the twin fish there in Pisces, where you are really being mindful of boundaries. Because that's the only thing with the North Node in Pisces, very loving, very beautiful. But we can have a little bit of a hard time with boundaries, healthy boundaries, right? So I just want you to be mindful of that. You might have to risk some disapproval and be true to your own unorthodox ideas in order to develop a deeper and more satisfying feeling of self-approval, right? It's got to be that, right? And this is the thing as well, you're a sign that really does appreciate more than any other placement, this idea of having a strong foundation, right? the bull energy could be very kind of like stubborn. It could be very fixed. Um, but with this North Node energy in there, in the 11th house of humanitarian causes, there could be this discrepancy where you would love to be able to help people. You would love to involve yourself in humanitarian causes, and you really should with the North Node in there. But you may feel like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the ability, but it'll be very cathartic. And you don't have to do it all the time, even if you just go volunteer at a soup kitchen, or if you just, donate clothes or just do something that's helping people. It's a really nice energy to do something like that. You are going to have a very strong desire to be center stage, to have your ego stroked. That the desire is going to be there because the South Node is in the fifth house, and the fifth house landlord is Leo. It's the natural landlord there, which is ruled by the sun. Even though you have your Virgo energy in there, that Virgo energy is being experienced through the lens of Leo, which is very like, my joy, my happiness. This is what I want. This is how I need to do things. There's going to have to be some sort of balancing out with what it is that you think is how you want to be seen, that you want to be admired, that you want to, all of that, and balancing out with other people. Kind of letting go of the idea that you need to be, especially when it comes to new friends, because there could be a lot of vulnerability around friendships, because a lot of friendships have gone south for you guys in the past few years. Not all of you, it depends on what's in your chart, but a lot of people who are Taurus risings, especially, have experienced a lot of challenges in friendship. So, there could be a vulnerability around that. And then you just kind of want to make these new connections. You just want to make sure, again, that you're not forgetting to remember yourselves, right? Because this idea of needing to feel special at all times, needing for things to revolve around your needs and what it is that your comfort and what you need, there's got to be, I'm not saying don't think about your needs. I'm saying there's got to be a balancing out of your needs with somebody else's needs as well, right? So you want to make sure that you're not forgetting to remember yourself, but also not forgetting to remember other people at the same time, right? So that's going to be for you guys the key to balancing out this idea of other people with what it is that you want. So you really want to focus on some attributes to develop, specifically as objectivity, being able to see the total picture, the long-term manifestation, really dipping into the desire for friendship, because a lot of you are like, I don't need new friends, right? Friends hurt me and I don't want to deal with that, right? Developing that desire, making decisions for the group or the couple's best interests, willingness to share unconventional ideas, even if you feel like it might not be popular, willingness to champion humanitarian causes or groups, anything like that. Actively participate in groups, awareness of equality, relating to others as individuals apart from their specific role in your life as, you know, doctor, business partner, friend, colleague, whatever it is, right? But looking at them for their individual story as well, trying to really create win-win situations, right? Good for you, good for me, right? That idea of balance that I was just talking about, and really recognizing how other people are special, right? Really working on that. Things you might want to think about leaving behind is an insistence on getting your own way, making changes just to be able to exercise authority over a situation, attachment to taking risks of any kind, right? Because fifth house is risk. It's taking a gamble, a chance. That fifth house, South Node energy, you want to really look at that. Attachment to the need for approval, as I've been discussing. Any tendency to be melodramatic, doing what's expected instead of following your own heart and desire, going to extremes, any sort of unbridled passion, unawareness of others' importance, and prideful responses based on fear. Again, I'm not saying don't, you know, to forget about yourself. I'm not suggesting that whatsoever. I'm just saying you have to be careful to balance it out with other people. And such the most amazing friendships can be developed over the next 18 months. The most Amazing business decisions could be made as well because that fifth house energy is entrepreneurial efforts, monetizable talents. If you balance it out with the 11th house, you could have people on your side. You could have champions, right, on your side. You could take your job very successfully online, right? Creating that business online, not doing it though all about, but thinking about others. If this is resonating with you as far as a business goes, this is all, it's all about that, right? Recognizing what you think, but then saying, all right, but what do people need? Right? You have to lean into that. The fifth house is also very connected to children. The 11th house is very connected to advances in science. So if you've been having a hard time conceiving, the North Node in that Pisces energy in the 11th house can be a beautiful transit for you to utilize the help of science, right? Anything having to do with like IVF. If you have if you have a very strained relationship with one of your children, being able to balance it out. This could be a beautiful balancing out of the energies between parent-child. I can say that. All right, my friends. So I hope that was helpful for you in some way. Thanks for hanging with me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, Jem, this is a good transit for you. Destiny-driven energies in the 10th house. We will take it. This is all about finding your purpose in your life, truly. Once that North Node gets into that 10th house Pisces energy, remember, 10th house is your career, public reputation, your standing in your world, in the world, legacy as well, success, very connected there. So this next 18 months is going to be really, really beautiful for you guys, especially that North Node in Pisces. It could help you with anything connected to professional efforts. Now, you might not be working, not everybody's working. What is your ultimate life goal? That's also 10th house. What is the status of your most important relationships? This could be very, very helpful for those as well. So you could land a beautiful opportunity having to do with career in the professional arena. I'm going to help you break into a new industry, move up the corporate ladder if you're doing anything like that, and but accomplish something major. Finally getting in front of that issue that's been really plaguing your marriage. Finally figuring out where it is that you want to live for the rest of your life, what it is that you want to do. It's something major. Right now, for a lot of you, this is going to be professionally and a very empowering time with that North Node in Pisces. It could really help you achieve some sort of, again, great professional feat, or it could even make you more just sort of like recognized, really recognized in your particular arena. You finally do something that you've always wanted. Now, because it's in Pisces, it's like, what were you dreaming about? Pisces is very creative. So anything that's connected to anything that's creative, anything having to do with light work, obviously, right? Pisces is very connected to tarot, light work, spirituality, prayer. It's also connected to nursing, anything connected to work in any sort of large institution that helps people, be it prisons, rehabs of all types, homeless shelters, anything where we're really helping people. Could be anything in that space. It could be anything that's connected to the water. It could be anything that's connected to Pisces is one of the psychology points as well. Um, North Node in the 10th house is a great energy also to enter rehab, get help for yourself, once and for all, balance yourself out, not allowing yourself to be victimized in that space. A nice energy there, right? But whatever it is, this is going to be an 18-month experience where you're going to be generating some sort of milestone that's going to be considered part of your life's work. This is a very good one for you, right? Very, very good. I like it. The Because in all of this, this nodal relationship is ultimately a quest for maturity. And you're so ready. You're just so ready for it. Maturity is an interesting word, right? Because when we mature things in the 10th house, we bring something to culmination. So something that we've been wanting, we bring it forth, right? And we feel ready. We're not going to be all over the place. It's in a Saturn ruled house. It's in a house that's the natural landlord is Capricorn. This is a space of responsibility. And so it's going to be very comfortably elevating your maturity. You can have a tendency to be over dependent on other people, to cling to them as though you were a child, right? Because that Geminian energy really typically doesn't really love a boatload of responsibility. Doesn't mean you don't like doing things. In fact, you like doing so many things that to say Gemini, sit in that one spot, and count beans, or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, it's like, no, but with this particular transit, it's like, okay, I can. Right? Because really looking at that South Node energy in Virgo in the fourth house, you could easily burden other people with your real or imagined emotional problems, wanting them to be the parent for you, wanting them to carry the heavy load, wanting them to bring about your own security, right? Your own emotional security, which is that fourth house energy, right? You have to let go of relying on somebody else to bring you emotional security. In fact, you might even be looking at the reality that for some of you, you may be looking for that parental figure. Whatever it is, a father figure, a mother figure, looking for that, right? And you could continue doing that if you don't work these energies, right? You can rise to the challenge by just sort of being responsible for your own life and going after the thing that you've been thinking about doing for forever and a day. Really about letting go of your own personal problems, because that's very fourth house, and working towards your own respected place in the world, very 10th house energy. So, what I'd have to say here is you have to watch out, right? The danger here is for you. You're going to know that you're not working this nodal energy if you feel like you're in a space of continued dependence. Always depending, this desire to be taken care of, right? This idea of, oh my gosh, if there's no one there to take care of me, I'm not going to survive. Because that's just going to continue this unending search for security. Now, it could have to do with money, or it could just have to do with emotional stability in a relationship, or it could just have to do with family, whatever it is. You have to really look at this idea where you're saying to yourself, if I could just get a strong enough foundation under me, then I'm going to feel strong enough and okay enough to make the changes that I need to do, to make in my life. You have to really look at that, right? Because that is this development of emotional dependence, and that's going to force you or force that sensibility to be the basis of your security, where your security depends on what somebody else is bringing to the table. But you're never going to have enough reassurance in order to feel safe. You're never going to gain the security that you think you need to be capable enough as an adult to take full charge of your life. It's never going to be there. Right? You want this space, you want this environment, you want this landscape where you feel very safe, very protected, very cared for, and you know, again, this idea of taking care, care. Um, you want that, but you have to be willing to risk. You have to be willing to take charge. You have to be willing to assume the full responsibility of a situation. And when it's in the 10th house, that's your long-term goals. That's your career. That's your standing in the world. And when you recognize a goal that's truly important to you and you live by it, you gain that self-respect and that assurance that you need to live responsibly without leaning too much on other people. Now, remember, I'm talking about there being a balance. So it doesn't mean you don't need anybody. It doesn't mean that you have to be completely like, I don't need anybody. That's not what independence means. When we're in relationship with family, with a significant other, even with our friends, there should be a healthy amount of interdependence where it's like, I'm my own independent individual and you're your own independent individual, right? I respect you, you should respect me. And then we have this middle space where we depend and rely on each other, where we trust each other. That's what we're developing here. 10th house, highest house in the chart, fourth house, lowest point in the chart, right? Really balancing out your emotional security with your future. And where do you maybe put your eggs in somebody else's basket a little too often? Now, again, it's not about saying, I don't need that person ever. is I don't need them to contribute. I don't know. No, but to rely on them exclusively, or maybe not exclusively, but where the scales really aren't very balanced, working on balancing those scales, right? Um, I have to tell you that this is a natural energy to be a boss, to have your own business, to get into anything having to do with like the political arena, um, anything having to do with corporate, anything that requires goodwill, anything that's going to be very helpful to people. Again, lots of enthusiasm, um, anything like that, anything that's creative as well, you know, really nice here. Being in charge, attributes to develop in this energy, attributes to develop, self-control, really important. Approaching life from an adult position, distance yourself from emotional intensity with family, really important, right? You have to let go of the critical, because the critical energy in the fourth house, in the house of family, maybe stop being so critical of family members or drawing a line between where you feel like critical family members are unfair to you as well, and creating healthy boundaries. It's really developing this idea of self-respect, staying goal-oriented, not allowing yourself to be scattered, sensible approaches to problem solving, keeping commitments and promises, letting go of the past, self-care, and accepting responsibility for success by bringing it to yourself. Things that you should work on leaving behind to reduce any sort of negative manifestations in this transit. Again, dependence, moodiness, insecurity that ends up leading to inaction. You know, as I always say, like analysis paralysis, limiting yourself through fear, using the past to avoid the present, isolation, spending too much time at home, lack of self-respect, avoidance of personal risk, and controlling others through your emotional overreactions. These are things you need to be careful of during this transit, Gemini. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you. Generally, I see this as a really, really good thing. You know, squash the fear, squash the vulnerability, throw out the imposter syndrome kind of thing, and go for it. This is such a beautiful 18-month transit for you guys. All right. So I hope this was helpful. See you guys next time. Bye bye. Answer. So let's start with the warnings first, okay? And then we'll go to the good stuff. What you need to be careful of over this next 18-month transit is this idea of mental security. Now, I know you are Cancer energy, and Cancer can be very challenged by that emotional security, which can end up messing with your mental security, right? You want to let go and just be very mindful of any thoughts like, you know, if I can't figure out what other people are thinking and then say the right thing and so that they could agree with me and see where I'm coming from, then I'm not going to be able to feel secure. And it's this idea of people being on the same page as us. You're not going to be able to do that, right? We can never do that, right? But because this can end up leading us into this space of, okay, let me figure out what this person wants to hear, where they need to go. Now, keep in mind, this is in the ninth house. The North Node is in your ninth house. The South Node is in your third house. This is the action, the axis of communication, of thought, of learning, of teaching, right? Now, the ninth house, the natural landlord there is Sagittarius. It's a Jupiter ruled energy, right? And so this is where that Pisces energy is, right? Having to do with, just keep in mind, like what the ninth house is about religion, organized or otherwise, politics, legalities, local governance, lawyers, higher education, higher mindedness, importing, exporting, foreign land, foreign travel, having to do with publishing, marketing, advertising. You have the North Node in there. So it could be something that's manifesting in that space, which is very, very nice. It has to do with journeying, right? Going on long distance trips. It has to do with the manifestation of father energy as well. Something could be happening in the life of your father as well. He might even be thinking about moving, or he might even be thinking about publishing, marketing, something of that effect. But just on a very personal note, having to do with that dynamic, the axis of the nodes on that ninth house, third house axis, you have to watch out for this very strong desire during this 18-month transit of this very strong need for mental security through other people agreeing with you, right? And always feeling like this like low key, maybe I don't know enough. I have to find out more so that I could present my case, so that I could have the outcome that I want. You're never going to be able to find out enough information in order to make that happen. So you have to just let go of control and pay close attention to your own intuition. And trusting and acting from your own truth brings out your integrity, which will attract the right people to help you gain security and the peace of mind that you are going to be seeking, especially over the next 18 months. Because what can happen in the house of Sagittarius is we ask everybody for their opinion, and then we end up ultimately likely doing our own thing. But we could end up doing it like flippantly because we get confused by all of the different information, right? Research something, find out the facts, figure out where it is that you want to go. It's the house of truth. Figure out your truth, figure out what has to happen, and then trust your own instincts. But what you don't want to do is like, okay, I'm going to go through 10 lawyers, right? Because that could happen sometimes. Go through 10 lawyers. That is a negative manifestation of this. You don't want to do that. With the North Node in there, it's like, okay, ask the right questions of that lawyer, trust in that lawyer, and let them do their job. North Node in Pisces, this is going to really help you have the outcome that you want. You get the idea, right? It's trusting at a certain point, there's got to be a trust in the belief system. Because again, you're never going to feel like you have enough information to feel like, I finally know what the truth is, right? At some point, you have to, go beyond logic, lean into your intuition, demonstrate what your higher truth is, and then execute that. What is your higher truth telling you? Because ironically enough, because there's a lot of irony always with the nodes, ironically, when you have faith in your own guidance, in what your intuition is telling you, in your spiritual guidance, even, you will gain a correct perception of what is really happening around you and living in the truth of reality and not what's easiest. Very important, is crucial for you to walk on the path that you're meant to be on, especially for the next 18 months. And this is especially important if you have any kind of legal situation going on. Because what you're really going to want during this 18-month transit is to feel connected with others while confidently being yourself, right? I mean, that's that ninth house energy. We always want to feel confident to be ourselves, right? But in part of that is we feel like everybody's got to agree with us around us, right? You want total agreement of everyone around you, for everyone to understand your point of view, to accept and support you, and to recognize your positive motivations, because you are very positive during this time. But to achieve this, if you try to manipulate people into thinking your way, that could end up being a detriment for you. So you want to use your natural gifts of intuition as a Cancer energy to understand others. And it's likely that you think that, you can say the right words to make others change their mind and agree with you, but it doesn't work ultimately, right? So you want to be mindful of any sort of manipulation here, right? Because that's very Virgo in the third of communicating. South node in Virgo, manipulating, not being totally transparent, not telling the full story. There could be some manipulation. So you want to make sure that you don't deal with that. Because when you live and when you speak from your higher self, ninth house, people who are really not in alignment with you, they're going to fall away, and new people are going to appear who are a lot more compatible, who are a lot more in alignment, and who are going to help you reach your goals, right? I have to tell you that as far as like career situation, because to a certain degree, the ninth house, especially if your midheaven happens to fall in the ninth house, and a lot of people do, falls not only in the 10th for a lot, some people it falls in the 11th, some people it falls in the ninth. this idea of having to do with your career, this is very, very good for your intuition, very good for you to read people. So whether it's that you're into, any sort of like the occult or spirituality, very strong for the legal profession, very strong for you to hire a really, really strong, powerful, intuitive lawyer during this transit. Excellent energy there. This is excellent energy for everything I mentioned already: law, legalities, local governance, law enforcement, politics, religious, spiritual leader kind of thing, being a professor, a publisher, any kind of role in advertising, any way that you could be involved in distributing ideas on a mass level or promoting a cause that you believe in. Really, really great there. Very, very good. Because you're going to have this naturally very powerful inherent gift for understanding the mindset of others. Remember, you want to make sure that you don't bastardize that because it's about balancing, right? And a way to bastardize that is to manipulate. So you don't want to do that, right? You want to be careful. You also want to be careful of any sort of indecisiveness, as I mentioned, any sort of second guessing. So attributes to develop during this time, it definitely relies on your intuition, any sort of prophetic abilities that you have, invisible guidance, prayer is really, really good. Speaking from a higher consciousness, understanding how to rise above, spontaneity, developing a sense of freedom and adventure and not being so, no, 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 that's not safe for me. Direct communication, free from censorship, trusting yourself, spending time alone, especially in nature, patience, intuitive listening and hearing the meaning behind words, not just what people are saying, but really looking at their body language and looking at something very holistically, right? To get a full understanding of what's going on. Tendencies to leave behind right now, second guessing what others are thinking, indecisiveness, perpetually seeking more information, as I mentioned, saying what other people want to hear, invalidating intuitive knowing with logic. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking that. That doesn't even make sense. I don't know. No. Like if your belly is telling you, go with it. Saying what others again want to hear, I feel like that we need to like highlight that. Gossiping is not very favorable at this time. Impatience with wanting immediate answers. I want to know, and I want to know it 5 minutes ago, right? That kind of thing. And trusting others' perceptions instead of your own, um, right? I mean, listening to your own intuition, but trusting what other people are saying as well and working on balancing that out, right? A good, really good healing affirmations during this time could be: when I let others be themselves, I am free. When I follow my own sense of truth, I win. These kind of things. My intuition will show me the right road spontaneously as things happen, as things unfold. But this is certainly a time for you to be following your own heart. Now, with that North Node in that ninth house, doors are going to be opening for you with that Pisces North Node in there. You're going to intuitively navigate that ninth house space again of everything that I mentioned the ninth house is. Trusting yourself is going to help you to navigate each new path that is presented to you, right? There's going to be this presentation to you. Now, it might be time to revisit for some of you, the idea of school, higher education, higher mindedness, not learning something from a brand new space, right? Higher mindedness like that as well. You could return to school, you could expand your worldview, where you like the whole world is your classroom, right? Anything like that, new experiences, life lessons are definitely going to color your spiritual journey and during this 18 months. There's no question about it. If you can, traveling is awesome, especially if you're going over large bodies of water. The North Node in Pisces could lead to a fated destination. New foreign surroundings might feel like home to you as you're starting this next chapter of life. Um, Beautiful energy here. Now, I do want to say that because the South Node is about releasing and the South Node is in the house of writing, like this is the axis of writing, with that North Node also representing publishing. This is a really great energy to actually get something published, right? With the release in the third house of writing or creating a curriculum or doing something like that, where it's elevated in the ninth house, is very, very favorable as well. So if you've had your mind like, oh, I'm thinking about getting published, or even if it's self-publishing, it doesn't matter. As long as it's getting out there to the world, really nice 18-month transit to do that, my friends. Okay, so I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Leo. So for you guys, it's eighth house, second house axis that's going to be activated. That north node is going to be in the eighth house, and it's going to be transfiguring that space for you. So let's start out with things we need to be careful of. Okay. The things you need to be careful of during this 18-month transit, again, from tomorrow all the way until July 26th, July 26th of 2026, is the idea of comfort, where you feel like, your goal in life is to be comfortable, where you feel like you need a lot of possessions to survive, because that could end up leading to, and you guys love stuff, Leo energy loves stuff, but this could lead you to this space of this trap of an unending search for accumulation, right? If I finally have enough money, enough possessions, enough fill in the blank, I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to feel ready to get into that relationship. I'm going to feel ready to be more settled in this marriage. I'm going to be ready to be a parent. I'm going to feel ready to take better care of my health. Because that thinking leads to stagnation on so many levels: material, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And life experience has shown you that you never get enough stuff. You're recognizing that now. You never get enough stuff to feel comfortable in making the changes that will ultimately add the vitality that you really want to your life. And you've really been feeling it, especially, I want to say, progressively over the past year and a half to 2 years. It's been a bit of a thing for you guys, right? So you need to be willing to risk losing your current level of comfort in order to gain a higher state of power and vitality. Remember, the eighth house represents other people, money, sex, intimacy, blending with another person. The North Node also in Pisces, eighth house also represents divorce, but it also represents absolute commitment. It depends on your own personal birth chart, but it is about endings and beginnings. It's a space of transformation. It's going to be very lit up, especially for you guys, because Pluto also naturally rules everyone's eighth house. So everyone's eighth house is going to be rocked because Pluto is been very busy energetically settling into Aquarius for the next year and a half to 2 years. He's going to be in there for the next 20 years until 2044, but he's just like getting comfortable, especially over this next year and a half to 2 years. So everyone's eighth house is going to be rocked. Plus, you're going to have the nodes on that axis. Okay. So for you guys, it's going to be very, very powerful, right? So you just have to understand you're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have enough personal property to think that you can afford to bond with another, to feel like there is enough to take care of all of your needs, right? And at some point, you simply have to let go of self-concern and put your full power into partnership, partnering up with other people, allowing yourself to accept from other people, but also not expecting them to fill up your entire cup, right? It's this energy of there needs to be partnership here. And the irony here, again, because there's always irony with the nodes, is that when you finally bond with other and give yourself over to other, that mutually empowering relationship can make you very rich, not only in money and property, but also spiritually, as well as connection as well. And all you really want in this space really is money. It's like if somebody could just dump a big, big bag of money on your front door, so you'd be like, thank you. Now I could just work out the rest of my life. And you want to accumulate those financial resources and material possessions to feel that sense of comfort and stability so that you can really begin to live. And to achieve this, you need to be willing to form partnerships with others, finding those who have similar values to you and resources, whether it's money or talent, that they could share with you and then you could share with them. right? If you can use your talents to enhance a partner's energy, truly linking with others as a team, rather than maintaining a sense of separation, like my money, my resources, your resources, my beliefs, your beliefs, my desires, your desires, whatever it is, the result can be greater financial rewards, greater emotional rewards, a leveling up of a very valued relationship, right? And with that contractual understanding, you will receive a percentage of, we could say, the profits. You're free to focus on enhancing your partner's energy and powers in a way that they feel will increase the success of the two of you at a team. As a team, that's not only romantic connections, this is business partnerships, any sort of entrepreneurial endeavor, any sort of joining up of a joint situation having to do with a family member, whatever it is, you know, but you're going to have the eyes to see things very specially during the next 18 months. This is a great energy for like editing things. You have the ability to delve into the mind of others, discern intentions, and bring material uh, circumstances to light in a way, in a very creative way that other people haven't considered. You're going to have a very, very real talent for empowering the projects and businesses of others. His eighth house is very connected to other people, very good at handling the resources of other people as well. North Node in Pisces can absolutely be other people giving you money for things that you need. So whether it's, especially for those of you who live in California, right? Because this is very Leo energy, right? Because California is very Leo. And if you've lost everything, you are going to need some help. So it's accepting that help, right, from other people and being very smart with it, not misusing it, right? Being very thorough, being very determined for lasting results, making good choices. This is going to be a bit of a superpower for you guys during this 18-month transit, which is very nice. And during this transit, also, some attributes to develop. I feel like these are helpful. Things you should focus on, things you should focus on letting go of, right? Things you should focus on, self-discipline, choosing constructive change, releasing whatever causes stagnation and lower energy in your life. So that could be substance, or that could just be a mental mindset, or just being around low vibe people, eliminating non-useful possessions. Really focusing on like what really matters here, enjoying things without having to own them, accepting support from others, like I was talking about, whether it's ideas, whether it's money or opportunities, enjoying high risk situations that make you feel alive, awareness of other psychologies as well, other people, what do other people want? What do they desire? What do they need? What are their motivations? And now focusing just on self, openness to partnerships, really being supportive, in any sort of merged venture, whether it's again relationship, business, whatever it is. Tendencies to leave behind, certainly tunnel vision is not welcomed over the next 18 months. Attachment to comfort and status quo, possessiveness, questioning past decisions, over concern with accumulation and ownership, any kind of stubbornness, getting bogged down with any sort of sensual appetite, whatever that is, whether it's sex, whether it's food, whether, anything like that. Um, yeah, I mean, stubbornness, resistance to change, resistance to other people's output, anything like that. We really have to be careful there, right? And just acknowledging right now in the moment any sort of personal suffering that you may be experiencing in your life. This is a good thing, Leo. It's labeling it that. For some of you, it's your health. For some of you, it's having a hard time, perhaps financially, because whenever the North Node is in the eighth house, it could manifest two different ways when it comes to personal money, because it is the house of debt and taxes, right? But with the North Node in Pisces, it could be paying off debt. It could be some kind of windfall from an insurance payout or an inheritance, or again, money coming in from other people. But it's this idea of outside help. Okay, that's great. It could be that. But the eighth house is also very connected to As far as health situation, because remember, Pisces rules the reproductive system, and Pisces rules the eighth house rather rules the reproductive system, and Pisces rules disease and disease. And the North Node can bring, we sort of have to look at this idea, right? And having some sort of blessing, because remember, we have the South Node in Virgo, which is the sign of health, in the second house, having to do with our internal body. Right. And the letting go of something. Right. So there could be some sort of transformation having to do with the health issue as well. It could be connected to um, it could be connected to reproductive health, having to do with fertility, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any sort of health issue at all. And being able to kind of get in front of that as well, right? But you could be experiencing that right now acutely as some sort of personal suffering. Maybe you're going through a divorce, or there's a very challenging period within a personal relationship. Any of these areas, okay? But there is a metamorphosis that is going to begin, of course, because it's in a Pluto ruled house, the house of the butterfly, right? The house where Scorpio lives. This is where this nodal energy, this North Node, is happening. It's again, it's the house of losses and gains and rebirth. So from the beginning of this 18-month cycle, from right now, this might be a tumultuous energy. Now, no lie, a lot of you might have been like, girl, I've been feeling this from 2 months ago. A lot of you, because it's whenever, right, it becomes within that 10-degree orb. So some of you may have really started feeling this energy a couple of months back. You will have to face some hard truths in this energy. Illusions, delusions, a lack of boundaries might have deterred you from obtaining true power, true gifts in this part of your life. But once you break free from that, the North Node in Pisces can help you regain authority and control over your life. So you could greatly improve your financial intuition, which may show in your investments and how you handle finances, how you handle things that are gifted to you, right? When it comes to other people's money, as I mentioned, your deepest connections could grow without the fear of becoming entangled with another. Most importantly, you may feel more connected with your own inner strength, your own inner compassion, your own inner love. There's nothing to be afraid of in the eighth house except ourselves. And that North Node in Pisces, Pisces represents how we end things. So a lot of you are going to be really looking at your past in this energy, really looking at what you need to let go of. That's just simply not working for you. And a lot of you are really going to be looking at that South Node in Virgo, in the second house of your sense of self, self-esteem, the money you make from the work that you do, things that you truly desire, what you consider to be stability, you're going to be looking at that. If you want this to be a positive cycle, it's got to have to be more of a we kind of energy. But in the same way, letting go of anybody else who's overly critical of you. Anybody who makes you feel challenged in your sense of self, who challenges your self-esteem. There's got to be a balancing out. So if you're in that unhealthy relationship, that North Node is going to really change that. If you're a spendthrift in that second house, the eighth house may bring that idea of debt, and you being in this 18-month process of saying, wow, I have to get energetically straight with money, and being able to do it, being able to find solutions to any sort of money issue can certainly be manifesting here. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Take care now. Bye-bye. Virgo. So let's start out with the good stuff, and then I'm just going to give you a little peek into what you definitely need to watch out for. Now, Virgo, you have the North Node going into the seventh house of marriage, partnership, your energetic output at work. Seventh house is also our best friends. It's anyone that we have a soul connection with. and a contract with, literal or metaphorical. So it's not only marriage contracts. It's also not only our boss or our bosses. It's also our doctors, by the way. It's also our doctors. But it's this idea of also our energetic output, meaning like what we give of ourselves in our work, right? Out to other people. Okay. Now, you're really going to be thinking about finding the one. Now, what is that one? It could be a relationship, it could be that job, but you are going to align with the destined connection since that North Node in Pisces is going to be guiding your seventh house. Again, marriage, partnership of all kinds, literal, metaphorical. Now, that North Node in Pisces is going to lead you to the right relationship. Right? For some, this could be a professional partnership. You could land a dream client, or you could obtain the most perfect work contract that you've been trying to manifest, or you could finally meet a therapist that you really connect with, really a doctor that you feel like totally gets you, particularly, if you've been having any health struggles, right? It depends on what else is going on in your birth chart. For others of you, the North Node in Pisces is totally going to amplify your love life. It's going to really bring something to fruition that you've been in, which could be nice. You could find a soulmate energy when you least expect it. But the tricky part is some of you may already be in a relationship. I'm not judging and I'm not saying what to do. Regardless, you're going to see a life for you in someone else. So if you're already coupled, I really hope you're all just finding a really great job that you resonate with, or you're changing the way in which you work, where everything feels very natural and very like second home, you know? If you can, you should entertain exploring uh, this, because I'm telling you, there is going to be some sort of new partnership coming in, and you want to explore it. You don't want to push it away, right? You don't want to push it away. Look, this is going to be an interesting one for you because you guys are being asked to stop being so critical. And I know a lot of Virgos are like, there's a difference between critical and being discerning. Tomato, tomato, whatever you want to call it, it's fine. But the South Node is in your energy. The North Node, destiny-driven energy, is in fall away from you. Okay, so that's something that you have to understand. So this can absolutely transform your life in relationship, in energetic output, in anything like that. Yeah, I really like this energy for you. So this whole idea of somebody fated coming into your life in that part of your life, again, relationship, a boss, um, figuring out how to do what it is that you do for work differently and having all the pieces fall into place. But it is the house of other people, right? It is the house of other people. So all of that's amazing. What do you need to be careful of? You need to be aware of selfishness in this energy, Virgo. You just have to be a little careful where you're saying to yourself, okay, right now, my survival depends on looking out for myself, and other people should make sure that my needs are met, regardless of whatever else they have going on in their life. Now, you might not be saying this out loud because you're smart enough to know what that sounds like, but you could certainly be feeling that. But that energy it's a self-defeating kind of energy, because if you feel that others have to constantly fill your needs for you to feel safe and connected, you're going to find that you always need more attention and energy just to feel okay and just to feel balanced. You need to find a partner who you can give to, who you will feel so energized that they naturally fill your cup in appreciation. Satisfaction in this energy is totally focused in connecting with people who see you for who you really are, appreciate you, and want to give back to you because of who you are, right? In this energy, you're really wanting to be your own person. You're wanting to be the center of things, to discover yourself in different life situations, and to surround yourself with people who feed you energy. I totally get it. But in order to make that happen, you need to refocus your attention away from yourself and discover the nature of the people who have been drawn to you. Because once you discern which people truly love you or truly respect you and even admire you and want to support you, once you begin to feed those people energy, the energy comes back to you and you will create the ultimate situation that you want, right? And this is something that needs to be balanced out, this idea of independence and self-sufficiency and personal achievement, and not this idea of effort to other or effort, in partnership. And it's interesting because Virgo energy means literally to be of service, to be of service. But because of other energies that have been going on, there is this sense of isolation. There is this sense of not feeling appreciated. There is this sense of not being in the right thing. And what happens from that, when you are in that position for so long, of not feeling seen or heard in the way you want, it's very natural for you to kind of go into this space where it's like, well, now it's got to be all about me. Now it's going to be about me. I've been about other people for too long, too long, too long. In this nodal season for 18 months, selfishness is the enemy. So really, really some tendencies to leave behind. Then I'm going to give you some healing affirmations as well. Impulsiveness, thoughtless self-assertion, right? Asserting yourself, feeling very justified, not thinking about other people, right? And the impact it may have on them. Lack of awareness of others' need for support, any sense of self-centeredness or selfishness, lack of good judgment regarding money, expecting others to be like you, indifference to how you're seen by others. You have to be careful where you're saying, I really don't care how other people see me. I'm sick and tired of that. The other people are messed up. They just use or they just hurt me anyway, right? That kind of thing. You can be careful. Resistance to compromise. This could come up and it could be a challenge. You want to pay attention to it. Outbursts of anger, over concern with survival. Over concern with survival. You gotta be careful. Attributes to develop here: cooperation, obviously, diplomacy and tact, increasing awareness of other people's needs, selflessness, right? Giving support, expecting reciprocity should not be a deal breaker, right? I'm only going to do this because they're going to do that for me. No. You should do something because you're just a good person and you want to just do it. Creating a win-win situation, sharing, seeing things through the eyes of the other person, and communicating self-identity, communicating who it is that you really truly are. Some healing affirmations that could truly help you with this is saying, like, when I focus on supporting others, I feel confident. When the team is successful, I win. When I share with others, I have more. Because again, this North Node in that seventh house, it wants to bring in that partnership. It wants to bring in that connection. Again, I don't care if it's best friend, if it's intimate, if it's that perfect job, whatever it is, wants to bring it in. But what's going to end up being like, nope, you can't come in, is this idea of selfishness and just focusing on self, okay? So a good way of mitigating any potential shadow manifestation of that is to be open to other people, okay, Virgo? I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. So let's talk about this axis for you. The North Node in Pisces is going to be in your sixth house of work, health, and routine. Sixth house is also connected to our responsibilities and our ability to problem solve. So there's going to be some sort of extraordinary alignment that's going to occur in this part of your life. Very serendipitous because it is the North Node. Happenstances will become a regular occurrence for you over the 18-month transit if our energy is open. Something may happen that will put your physical, mental, and or emotional health into perspective, where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to really look at this thing, right? Because it is the house of health, and Pisces does rule disease and disease, whether it's addiction or whether it's a lot of, incredible anxiety, depression, anything like that. This transit can put it all into perspective. You could change the way you view the way you process situations, your diet, exercise, and even therapy. As you begin a healthier practice, you're probably going to see changes in other areas of your life as well. You could feel more confident, starting new routines, new habits, new work opportunities could come your way. The more you love your life during this 18-month transit, the better it's going to be, the better it's going to become. So you really want to let that North Node in Pisces energy help you figure out the beauty and the really, like, more than anything, like, what do you really want? Like, what do you desire to have as your day-to-day experience? Okay. Now, all of this is great. To have the North Node in there is very good for your health. It's very good for your daily work environment, getting a job that you're really dreaming about, being able to finally figure things out, solve your own problems, be your own savior kind of thing, right? But it's happening because of what needs to be let go of, right? And so this is where I want to give a little caveat. You want to watch out for these tendencies, because if you're going to feel the way I'm about to describe, that should be a bit of a red flag that you're not doing the right thing on this particular transit, especially if it has anything to do, Libra, with victim consciousness. Where if you're saying, okay, if I don't have like constant compassionate attention from others, someone is going to take advantage of me. Or if somebody doesn't give me what I need, I'm not going to have what I need, right? And it's almost like taking away your own agency, right? So others can never give you enough reassurance to overcome your inner sense of helplessness, as well as even, dare I say, paranoia. It's only when you look within yourself that you're going to be able to figure out what other structures you need to create in order to give yourself the strength and purpose that are required in your life. So really looking at your work, really looking at your health, really looking at your day-to-day, because that trap that you must avoid right now is this unending search for any sort of savior or mentor who you could just blindly trust and hand it all over to, right? Where you could just sort of surrender yourself in order to figure things out. You have to be careful. Life has shown you that inward surrender will not make the external world orderly and productive. And that is something that's very, very real for you. So the only way that you can achieve your goals is to organize your life in the way that you need it to be so that you're going to feel ultimately safe and strong. So the bottom line here is you're never going to feel like you have enough confidence to go out into the world and do something productive. You're never going to feel that way. So at some point, you simply have to begin actively participating in life. And the thing is, and the irony always with the nodes, there's always irony connected here, is that when you seek to participate and learn what leads to successful results, that's where you're going to gain the confidence that you need and that you're looking for, right? And I know that there is this energy that could be coming up in you that you've probably likely been living with, which is why the nodal energies are on the axis that you have them on, right? Because there are lessons to be learned here, is this idea of wanting to lose yourself in the security blanket of your own personal connections with the universe. So it could be a significant other, it could be a parent, it could be family, it could be friends, right? Where you really kind of want to just let go into something larger than yourself that will ultimately be able to support you and give you that expanded sense of identity as well as security. You have an insatiable need to experience peace and oneness, but to successfully attain that goal, and you have all of the tools in your toolbox here to manifest this for yourself with the North Node and Pisces in this part of your chart. You have everything there. You have to go out into the world and be of service to others and shift your attention from your own fears and focus instead on the here and now. Now, let me just point something out here. As a Libra energy, you are very helpful to other people. You're very giving. This, what I'm talking about, is different. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about your stability and your security in your life. I'm not talking about making somebody tea if they don't feel well, although that will be rewarded in this energy as well. But it's really about not looking for somebody to come and save you just in general in life and doing without the expectations back, right? Um, this is a very good opportunity to lean into those very caring and very unconditional energies. Unconditional, great. North Node in the sixth house in Pisces is so good if you're thinking about maybe going to school to be a nurse, or you're becoming a nurse, or some sort of caretaker, or if you are working in some sort of Piscean profession, if not a nurse, maybe um, having to do with, working in a prison, working in a rehab, any kind of rehab at all. Could be physical, could be drug rehab, it could be a homeless shelter, anything like that. North Node in Pisces in the sixth house, which does rule your day-to-day work environment, could be so, so good for that, right? But again, because Pisces does rule disease and disease, it's the North Node. It's uncomfortable, destiny-driven energy in the house of health. You have to start taking better and different care of your health as well. I mean, that goes, I want to say that in addition to whatever other manifestation you can end up having happen for you in this space. So it's a very spiritual energy. You're going to be very intuitive with people. That part will be very, very nice. Okay, so attributes to develop to have that positive manifestation of really beautiful serendipitous things, hitting the scene in that sixth house is participate, bringing order to chaos, creating routine, focusing on the present, the here and now, right? These are what you want to focus on developing, acting on feelings of compassion, being of service to others, analyzing and categorizing, gaining self-confidence through experience. That's a big one. Moderation, taking risks even if you're afraid, noticing and valuing the details of a situation, things that you want to leave behind, being a victim, any kind of victim consciousness, right? There are no victims. Confusion and disorientation, avoidance of planning, escapism and addictive tendencies, whether it's drugs, alcohol, excessive sleep, daydreaming, whatever it is, any sort of extremism, oversensitivity, any kind of self-doubt, feeling inadequate, withdrawing from situations, vagueness, like not wanting to commit, which creates an energy of inaction, giving up on things, excessive analysis paralysis, avoidance. You want to avoid these things. You want to avoid avoidance right now, right? These are the things that you want to make sure that you're looking at so you have the positive manifestation, again, of those serendipitous energies in that sixth house. Okay, Libra? So I hope this was helpful in some way. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Hi, Scorpio. Oh, I love the North Node in the fifth house. That's very nice. This is all about creating. So creating, that's a big umbrella. So fifth house has to do with falling in love, love affairs and romance. Um, Anything you want to create as far as a monetizable talent, an entrepreneurial effort, any sort of hobby, your joy, happiness. North Node is about gambling. Um, it's just in Pisces, so let's just be a little careful with that. Um, Taking any sort of chance. Fifth house is also your children. So North Node in the fifth could be like a destiny-driven energy for your children. Or remember, North Node is not cozy and comfortable. We have to step out of our comfort zone. So you may be needing to step out of your comfort zone when it comes to how it is that you relate to your children. You may be realizing, things, a dynamic connected to your children that needs to be looked at. Um, the fifth house could also represent something in the life, especially of your oldest child. So, with the North Node in Pisces, perhaps something that they've been dreaming about is finally going to happen. It's finally going to come to uh, a head, finally something. Um, the same time, some sort of destiny driven energy may be ending an important relationship in the life of one of your children, but it ends up being a good thing. It ends up being a blessing. It ends up being like a blessing of a situation, because if it ends up manifesting for you in that way, whatever they were involved in was really holding them back in their life, right? But this is very connected to fantasy with Pisces in the house of love, of fun, of intimacy, creativity. um, Indulge in your passions, during this 18-month transit, about whatever is joyful for you, whatever's pleasurable, anything that you're thinking about creating. Even if you're not, according to societal standards, really good at something, just have fun creating, that whole idea. Now, there could be a question lingering in your mind over the next 18 months as this North Node in Pisces is in your fifth house, that encourages you to simply find out what it is that you like. Because you might even be in this space right now. It's like, I don't even know what I like. I don't even know what I like to do. Just like by myself, I'm not even sure. So you could use that 18 months to determine whatever it is that you're into. And it doesn't only have to be some sort of like creative hobby. It could be your dating goals, your relationship goals. What do you really want? Really looking at your own sexual desires and what is it that you want out of intimacy. And that might sound silly on the face of it, but think about that. What matters to you? And it's not only going to be about the action, it's also going to be about the emotional realm, obviously, because it's Pisces and it's in the fifth house. And the fifth house is very connected to this idea of love and joy and deep friendship. So getting very clear on all of that for yourself. But again, any sort of hobbies, any sort of joyful outlets and passion projects are going to be primary focuses in your life for this 18 months. And more than anything about this particular transit, what I like is you're going to feel a lot more comfortable loving and expressing yourself through various mediums. Not only verbally, maybe even through writing, maybe through technology, maybe through art, poetry, songs, whatever it is, right? Really leaning into that, and just finding joy in it. Now, this could all be really, really good, right? But we have to just give the little caveat that we have to watch out for. Because what's happening here is you're being reminded, right, that this is a time for you to create your own destiny. And you know this, Scorpio, because your ruler, your modern ruler of Pluto, is now in Aquarius. So it's all about the future. So a lot of you are you're very mindful of the future. You're very aware of the clock. You're very aware of the calendar. And this is not a bad thing. It's just that you're really in a space where you're realizing where you're at in your life, right? And this need to create your own kind of destiny driven energy. Now, the challenge here is you need to be aware of, right, with this particular transit happening, is an overriding need to feel the acceptance of other people, especially when it comes to a relationship and how it is that we're talking about, I'm saying relationship fifth house, and how it is that you guys are discussing the future, which would be very 11th house, which is where that south node is, right? That 11th house is retirement, it's goals and gains. It's what's the long road look like, not just today. It's what does the long road look like, right? Um, you know, anything having to do with your friends are never going to give you enough support for you to break out as an individual, for you to truly take advantage of any sort of exciting opportunities that your life is bringing. No one is going to be able right now to give you that golden nugget of information that's going to make you feel like, oh, okay, everything is perfect as far as your long-term goals and gains and where it is that your life is going. So at some point, and this is the point, you really do need to become your own best friend and encourage yourself to go after those things that are going to ultimately bring you happiness without an over reliance on anybody else. And remember, the North Node in Pisces, Pisces is the twin fish, right? The twin going in opposite directions. So, and in that fifth house energy, you could have this experience with a partner, with your children, even with your a business, where there is a love hate situation, where you love certain things and you hate others. But I mean love and really not. You know what I mean? Like, so this could even be two sides of your child that you recognize. You maybe even have a stronger affinity towards one of your kids than the other. We don't like to say that out loud, but that's not uncommon for Scorpio energy. And a lot of times it just has to do with the connection, but it doesn't have to be that at all. It could even be, well, you love your children the same, but it's more about maybe a relationship or your joy where you love certain aspects of the relationship. You absolutely hate the other aspects. And the part that you hate, you actually feel victimized in that space. You feel like you're not treated fairly, that you're misunderstood, or getting the lousy end of the stick, right? So it's that kind of thing. Now, what this North Node in the House of Joy is going to end up lighting up is, where do you not feel the joy, and really facing that down and having that conversation in that relationship with your child, with a business partner, maybe even, right? Because the fifth houses have to do with having your own business, or maybe you're in business with somebody, or you're needing to have a conversation with, this could even be having to do with something connected to your childhood, because fifth house is very connected to our childhood. Now, the North Node in Pisces is beautiful for finding the inner child, right? For getting back in touch with what is just simply fun for you, and recognizing where are you not feeling completely accepted, in that space. What is taking away or hindering, like, let's just say that, hindering the joy that it is that you feel, right? And what happens here is, you could easily feel in that space that for some reason or another you're not enough. So if you find out more knowledge, or if act in a certain way, or if you're agreeable in a certain way, if you go along to get along, that's going to be the answer. And that's really not going to be the answer. It really is about recognizing, first of all, where somebody else is at, why are they behaving this way, understanding that you don't have to make their problem yours, while also exercising empathy, because the North Node in Pisces is certainly very empathetic. But you don't have to be completely on the same page to be joyful. So this could be a really nice time to become better friends with your kids. Again, because the 11th house is friendship, fifth house is kids, and it's always going to be about balancing out. And it's very connected to this idea of being overly critical, but also being overly of service as well. So there has to be a middle ground here. There has to be a middle ground. If you're in a relationship because you're worried about your future, but you're not feeling very respected, that needs to be looked at. Because the North Node in Pisces is the positive manifestation of Pisces, which is unconditionally loving and giving. And if there are conditions on that relationship, and I don't care what the relationship is, if it's with significant other, somebody in business, or even one of your children, it's where there are conditions. Like, I really love you, but I can't be with you because, right? Or I really, really love being in business with you, but I can't show up differently because, fill in the blank. I really da da da, but there's this condition. No, that's going to get in the way of your joy and happiness. Now, again, what I said in the beginning of the video, if we don't live the lessons of the nodes, it seems like we're living the life in mastering something. No, I know what I'm doing. I'm ending up getting the upper hand. But at the end of the day, we leave that situation the fool. living the life of a master, but dying the fool, right? And we have to really be careful of that. So here we have to really look at where do we feel like we're, not being respected and elevated by people in our life. Don't chase the acceptance of other people. Don't chase, anything like that. And I understand Scorpios are typically like, screw you, I don't care. They really are. It's like, look, if you're stressing me out, I'm just gonna kind of, put you over here in my life and you're nothing but a thing, on a shelf in my life. And I know you want to say that, but at the end of the day, you are a water sign. At the end of the day, you are very sensitive and you do love very deeply. And that is the reality. You can get hurt. You can put the face on, right? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about how it is that you really feel, okay? Because at the end of the day, look, what do you really want? You really want to receive love. You need to experience the loving energy of others. And I'll tell you, like, that need is nearly insatiable a lot of the times. But to successfully bring that energy into your life, you first need to give love by cheering up other people, being a positive beacon in their life, being very positive to them, giving that out by exercising that loving energy, by exercising creativity to contribute to the happiness of other people, right? Figuring out how can I approach this relationship differently? How can I do this differently, right? The best barometer for being on track with this particular nodal axis for you is the approval of other people. And I don't mean pay attention to me, look at me. It's where you're just giving of yourself without giving yourself away. And it's not about feeling like you need to be perceived a certain way in the eyes of other people. It's about just naturally just giving to people because you want to give, and having them accept your giving and them not view you as being somebody who is focused on your own energy. Because remember, the fifth house is where Leo naturally lives, right? So wherever Leo naturally lives, we have a lot of heavy ego there as well. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. So with the North Node in Pisces, it's tuning into what it is that you want, but it's exercising unconditional loving and giving to other people as well, right? And balancing that energy out. Right? Balancing it out, not just being like my way or the highway, but also not being a doormat to other people. Okay. So this is something that, you're really going to have to, focus on looking at. So attributes to develop during this 18-month transit is your individuality, is true, genuine commitment, willingness to take center stage, to be the center of attention. Because I do know you guys have been going through a transit where a lot of you are in a space of deep comfort in an isolated space, right? I understand that, and that has a lot to do with the fact that the node was in your 12th house. But anyway, following your own heart's desires, strengthening your own willpower, enthusiasm and self-confidence, your ability to take risks, relating to the child and others, enjoying life, just having fun, looking at life as an absolute game, and developing an it's up to me attitude. Tendencies you want to leave behind is yielding to any sort of peer pressure or relationship pressure, detaching from emotional situations, aloofness, waiting for others to prompt your own action, overlooking what's really going on and looking at anything through rose-colored glasses. You want to be careful of that. Waiting for more knowledge before taking action, excessive daydreaming, and running away from confrontations of the truth, of the reality of what's really going on in a situation. So I hope that was helpful, Scorpio. I think this is going to be a very nice energy. This is beautiful for those of you who maybe you haven't been dating for a while, for you to start meeting new people. The only thing I want to say is because it's in Pisces, you want to make sure that you are not in any kind of situation where, again, you have the rose-colored glasses on in any sort of relationship situation. But it is a great energy to dream and just sort of lose yourself So very sexy energy in that way. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Sagittarius, let's start with the good news first, okay? Something is bound to change in your personal life because the North Node of Pisces is going to be in your fourth house. So that fourth house, for some of you, it's going to be property and real estate. For others of you, there's something connected to your first family or just your family in general, who you're living with now. Um, your inner base of operations, your deepest belief system. We have the North Node in there. So, and in Pisces, you're going to envision something greater for that fourth house space. So this could be, if it's not a home, it could be a lifestyle or some sort of family situation. You will not be in the same place that you are right now in 18 months. I will be very surprised. And I am very curious to see. I have an idea how this will ultimately end up manifesting for my husband because he is a Sagittarius rising. And, you know, oh no, we're moving again. I don't, he's always talking about stuff. So, the Sagittarians, the wanderlust, the natural wanderlust, but everything about your personal life could change during this time. Very fated events may bring new and or old family members back, new family members hitting the scene, right? We're hoping for a grandchild. That would be great over the next 18 months. But it could just be old family members coming back around as well. You could start or, again, expand your family in some way. No, not you directly, but where your family could certainly expand in one way or another. Certain family members may have a different role in your life, especially if you want to change those familial type of dynamics. You know, so for example, I don't wish this for any of you, but like maybe one of your like a family member becomes a caretaker. This could certainly happen. Or a family member could even become like a business partner as well. So some sort of dynamic, right, within that dynamic, that relationship, something in that space is going to be changing. Now, aside from your family, you could change obviously where and how you live. Maybe you've been really privately looking at, places that you would ultimately like to move to, or maybe even buy like a second home or something like that, and that ends up manifesting. Anything is kind of possible here with that fourth house energy because it's a very big space, but it's, North Node in Pisces is very, very dreamy. Now, Pisces also rules disease and disease. The fourth house is very connected to, as it's ruled by the moon. So it could be connected to a member of your first family. This could be connected to a female energy that you live with. So there could be, some sort of health situation that comes up in that space, a female member of your family. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who you live with, but it could be a sister, could even be a daughter, something like that, right? Could certainly be that kind of situation. I don't wish that for any of you, but I want to give all of the different interpretations, right, of what can ultimately happen here. But generally speaking, having the energy of Pisces is very unconditionally loving and giving. Generally speaking, it is again the energy of the nurse, the caretaker. Um, and in that fourth house, in that, Pisces is water, and the fourth house is ruled by Cancer and the moon. There's a lot of water, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of emotions will be in there. And so that'll be lovely, right? So we have to talk about the little caveat. We always have to talk about, because just because we have the North Node, we also do have to deal with the South Node, right? And so because you have this happening in your fourth house, that 10th house is where your South Node in Virgo is going to be. So what do we have to watch out for? Remember, what is that 10th house? It's career, public reputation, you standing in the world, where your life is going, status of your most important relationships, right? You have to be careful of your need to be in control, right? Where you say, to yourself, and maybe even sometimes out loud, if I can only make them get their lives together, then I could relax and I could be vulnerable. But the truth of the matter is that you can never control situations or other people enough to feel like it's safe to be yourself, right? Because when you try to take charge of situations in other people's lives without being invited, you are inappropriately usurping other people's responsibilities and you're taking away their agency. So you have to be careful of that. So that trap that you really need to avoid during this 18-month cycle is this need to really avoid this unending search for acknowledgement, any sort of recognition. You have to be careful of that, right? Right. If only others will recognize my contribution in a respectful way, then I could begin to feel good about myself. Now, because this is opposing the fourth house, you could feel at times like you're not appreciated enough by people in your family, people you live with, people of your first family, maybe even your kids, whatever the situation is. You don't want to look at that because others are never going to be able to give you enough recognition for you to feel completely satisfied. It's only when you acknowledge within yourself the importance of the contributions that you make through nurturing others in a supportive way, that's when you're going to really begin to feel very fulfilled. You're never going to have enough authority to feel like it's safe to be vulnerable. At some point, you're going to have to take a chance and let others know the truth of who you really are and how it is that you feel. Your insecurities, your fears of rejection, and abandonment, any sort of feeling of inadequacy. Because the irony that this brings, there's always irony with the nodes. And the irony here is that when you risk letting other people see who you really are, you finally gain a total, like a real feeling of safety because in revealing your feelings, you've taken charge of yourself on a deeper level, right? So this idea of control really does need to be mitigated. It just generally speaking in the lower part of your chart, because you have the North Node there in the fourth house, the South Node in the 10th, but then you also have Pluto in the third, which is very controlling. And Pluto's trying to change the way that you think and the way that you speak and the way that you process, right? So very deeply in your those third and fourth house, very deep houses, there's a lot of deep change that's going on, especially over the next 1.5 to 2.5 years, right? Especially in that space, right? So really looking at that and focusing on developing certain attributes are going to be very, very beneficial during this particular 18-month transit. Noticing and validating feelings, both your own as well as other people's. Empathy, being able to really understand putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Nurturing and supporting others. Building your own foundation and security. Honest disclosure of feelings and insecurities. Humility, really important here. Accepting other people's shortcomings and fluctuating moods without any judgment. No judgment there. And staying centered in your own feelings, right? Tendencies to leave behind, obviously needing to control everything and everyone, a compulsion to take charge without fully understanding the situation, ignoring the process, meaning being too focused on the ultimate goal of a situation, feeling completely responsible for everything, hiding feelings and fears in intimate relationships, doing things to gain respect or admiration from others, taking care of other people's feelings and neglecting your own, and doing what is socially acceptable rather than what is, for you, totally honest, thinking that things have to be difficult in order to be important. So, some affirmations that you could try is saying to yourself, when I try to control, I lose. When I share my feelings, I win. Just a couple. No one can invalidate my feelings. It's okay not to manage everything all the time. It's okay to let my feelings show, right? And that's what we have here. I mean, you're set to have beautiful energies hit that fourth house, right? But we are not puppets to any of this energy, so nothing could be assumed. So it's always important for us to understand the energies that are in fall. And the reason I'm doing this is we always want to understand what's happening in the opposite house in our chart, right? That opposite energy. So the opposite of that Pisces fourth house energy is going to be that Virgo 10th house energy for you. And Pisces, right, is in fall in Virgo. Right, so we have to understand that Virgo can also be is also the fall of Pisces. So we want to balance those energies out. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next time. Till then, bye bye. Capricorn, I hope you guys are doing great. So let's talk about the nodes. So it's in your third, the North Node in Pisces. I'm a Capricorn rising as well. It's in our third house. And this is like, I don't know, Capricorn, have you been just feeling a little underwhelmed when it comes to like community, your local community, communication in general, your interests, your ability to write? Maybe there's been like writer's block, this idea of being able to create and just not being able to do it, right? You may have just been feeling like really underwhelmed. I don't even say like the past couple of years. Maybe you haven't been in the right spot around the most interesting people or pursuing something that really gets your curiosity going, because that's like kind of indicated, right, in the chart. But luckily, this North Node in Pisces is certainly going to inspire something a lot greater in that house, that third house of teaching, writing, communicating, connecting with your community, connecting with your neighborhood, um, connecting with your siblings, um, being actually, I mean, the North Node in Pisces, particularly if you have ever felt scapegoated by whether it be your um, siblings or your cousins, any sort of extended family member, um, just people in general. It's interesting because I feel like this may have even started for you a couple of months ago, where you're just starting to feel like where you were scapegoated, you're now being appreciated a little more or a little differently, right? Which is this is a very, very nice thing. Okay. There's something greater going on in this third house for you. So you want to lean into, the idea of learning something new, of because this is very the third house is very connected to learning new things. It's like learning how to ride a bike and tie your shoe. That's why the third house rules like anything from nursery school all the way through high school, not higher education. So it's that learning like skills. So you could be with the North Node in Pisces, you could be learning some sort of new skill. Now, because Pisces is in your third, that means that Sagittarius is in your the house of Pisces, which is in your 12th house. So you might be learning some sort of new skill to launch a project, to publish something, to publish a curriculum, to publish a book, to get some sort of creative Pisces, creative project out there, right? Because we connected them with that 12th house energy, very connected to that. You have all of the energy into that space, right? Really nice for communication, for creating any sort of curriculum, learning things, anything like that. Now, you could share your knowledge through writing, through public speaking, could even do it online, even though technology is ruled by Aquarius and Uranus. Aquarius is on your second house of how it is that you make money. So you could be doing that, having to do with technology, doing any sort of public speaking or writing or disseminating information online. Also, the North Node in Pisces could also realign you with, again, your immediate community. So maybe you're getting more involved. I don't know. Maybe you're joining like a local Facebook group, or you're going to your local library and finding out things that are going on, or you're just in one way or another just becoming a lot more active in your community. Even if you're not connecting with individuals within your community, you're just loving your community more. But this is a nice time, this 18-month period, to surround yourself with very Piscean people, right? Especially around your neighborhood. So, dreamers, right? It's the first thing we think about when we say Pisces. We say dreamer, people who love deeply. Um, so lovers, artists, anybody who's like that. Hopefully you will feel very fulfilled and very impassioned, right, about a new area of your life after this 18-month cycle. But it's about leaning into some sort of third house arena. So doing some sort of creation in that Pisces energy. So starting a business, writing something, again, getting out there, even if you're not writing, getting out there and communicating and meeting with people, learning something new. This is really, really nice there, right? Really nice energy for you, especially, well, for now, right? I mean, this is hitting tomorrow, January 12th. I think I said the 11th before, January 12th. It's hitting on Sunday all the way until July of 2026. You do have Jupiter in the sixth house until June, and then it goes into your seventh house. Those are very nice houses for the next 2 years, having to do with work and contracts and getting out there. So all of that's great. But what do you need to be careful of? Because you always have to be careful of something. Because if we're talking about the North Node, we can't say, oh, let's act like the South Node doesn't exist. Can't do that, right? And so having the North Node in the third house, in the ninth house, you have Virgo energy. You have to be careful of being too self-righteous. Okay, we have to be careful, right? Where you're saying, if other people would just acknowledge that I'm right and appreciate me for it, I would be understood and then I would feel accepted, which leads you into an unending trap for this idea of feeling completely understood and appreciated and the actual truth. Because you can't even struggle with the truth during this 18 months transit. And when I say that, I don't mean like that you're going to be lying. I mean your own personal truth. Like, what do you actually really believe? So a lot of you may be revisiting your religion, your belief system, um, revisiting your politics, revisiting looking at the higher education that you've gotten and reassessing it and maybe saying, I want to learn something new, or I want to add on to what I've been doing. But as long as the humility is there, as long as the ownership is there, because you don't want to come off as being self-righteous, right? It's impossible to be right all the time. It's very hard to truly feel good about ourselves if we're in that space where we insist on being right all the time. And when we argue and try to convince other people that we're right, others are not going to want to connect with us. But again, going back to the idea of humility, if you have enough of it and openness and you really listen to different viewpoints, even those that don't fit in with your previous experiences, you get to know people in a way that helps you feel more connected to them. And that ends up expanding your circle. And because you have the North Node and Pisces in the third, you could be doing that on a very local level. Or you could be studying this in a certain way, where you're studying different perspectives. You're studying that, okay? The process in the irony here is that the process of this is a lot more of a equitable and a relaxed I guess I want to say engagement, relationship, relating situation with other people. So the more the humility you exercise, the more you come off as, ninth house energy, a really healthy way of coming off as ninth house energy is not, because remember, it is the energy of, ninth house is the place of, and it is the natural landlord there is Sagittarius. It is the wise one. It's the professor. It's, I know better than you, right? So the best way to kind of work with that energy is I'm really open to understanding things differently. But thus far, what I've learned, what I believe to be the truth is this, but I'm totally open to seeing things in another way. That's the way to work this energy, okay? Being open to other perspectives, not feeling like there's got to be a period at the end of every sentence when it comes to your belief system or what you believe to be true, right? Really being third house energy, a scholar of life, right? That scholar of life kind of energy. And I feel like that has helped me personally, as a Capricorn rising. I am a Gemini sun, right? So that has helped me um, kind of pull out of that Capricorn, because Capricorn tendency, especially when we're tired, we could be like, get out of the way and let me just do it. You don't know what you're doing. And we could easily take away people's agency. I talk about that a lot. Can easily do that. We have to open up and say, you know what? There are other ways of looking at this. There are other ways of being. Maybe I thought I knew a certain way, and that's okay that I thought that, but I can't close myself off from other ways of being, from other truths. To be honest, really, we have to look at it. There are other truths, right? We don't have the market on the truth cornered, Capricorn, right? We don't. We like to think sometimes we do, but we don't, right? So we want to learn, we want to keep ourselves open to those third house experiences. So things that you really want to develop, right? Healthy curiosity, asking questions and learn exactly how other people are thinking. What made them arrive at that thought process rather than just cutting them off at the knees, metaphorically, of course. Seeing both sides of a situation, having tact and logic, communication of internal dichotomies. Really need to, especially with that ninth house having the south node, especially when it comes to like, religion or politics or just truth, and what is supposed to be what it is that we feel. I mean, it's such a beautiful transit for negotiating in a healthy way what does truth mean, and arriving at a whole other different place where there's a lot of empathy, there's a lot of understanding, and we've learned new perspectives. So it's really nice. So really exercising your ears when it comes to listening, openness to new ideas and experiences, and seeking factual information before making a decision. Tendencies to leave behind, again, self-righteousness and certainly aloofness, assuming that others know where you're at, whether it be in a relationship or whether it be in work, whatever it is, thinking that you know what others are saying without really listening, needing to be right, espousing truth without taking other viewpoints into account, careless spontaneity, taking any sort of shortcuts, taking yourself too seriously, having a very ponderous approach to life, being, you don't want to be too heavy, too serious, acting on intuition without checking the facts, resisting ideas that are foreign to your belief system, and prejudging present situations on the basis of past experiences. So these are just some things to think about. But the blessings are going to be coming in that third house of communication, of your local community, of those interests, of learning new things. So it's beautiful, but you just want to get in front of any tendency of self-righteousness so that you could manifest that energy. Because remember, Pisces is in fall in Virgo. Virgo is in fall in Pisces, right? So we have to understand that opposing energy, right? So that is what I have for you, Capricorns. I hope this was helpful in some way. Have a beautiful nodal transit in that space. And let me know if you're getting published or if you're teaching anything. Share it with our community. It's very exciting. You guys take care now. Bye-bye. Aquarius, I hope you're doing great. So let's talk about the North Node of Pisces in your second house. For you guys, prosperity is going to align with your destiny here, and abundance is going to come your way as this North Node in Pisces generates your second house of independent wealth, personal effects, and your value system. Now, when I say value system, I mean anything attached to the word worth for you, from the money in your bank account to your sense of self and self-esteem, to your possessions. Okay. Now, I do want to say that the second house, the Pisces energy does rule disease and disease, and the second house does rule our internal, our internal organs. Okay. So I am saying this to anybody who's like having this nodal axis hit a health house with the North Node there. It's a blessing kind of energy, but it can be some sort of Piscean type of health issue rearing its head. And it doesn't mean that it's got to be a big crazy problem. In fact, the North Node, there could be a lot of beautiful, positive, energetic support for you. But I wouldn't want you to be surprised if something ends up coming up. It's something, again, because Pisces does rule disease and dis-ease, right? So there could be, worry about money, or there could be, feelings of vulnerability and insecurity. These are the ways that it can come up. But the way this transit is showing up in your second house wants to help you create a beautiful life. This is a blessing kind of energy, but I did want to just give you that. We have to give some caveats as well, because it's not only about the North Node in Pisces, it's also about the South Node in Virgo, right? And that South Node in Virgo is hitting your eighth house. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. So, creating this beautiful life over the next 18 months, you could become more comfortable pursuing financially advantageous opportunities you feel called to do, and whatever that is. Maybe it's investing. Even though the South Node is in the house of the stock market, you might be changing the way you invest. Some of you might have a release of funds from the eighth house. What I mean by that is the eighth house is where we have inheritance or insurance payouts. So because there's release, there's excretion in South Node energy, there can be that as well. There can be a lot of getting in front of debt, paying off debt, paying off taxes. The South Node in the eighth house is also divorce. But with the Pisces North Node energy in the second house, you're only leaving something because it made you feel really bad. There was a darkness to it. So it's helping you to feel better and more confident about your life, right? It's like that kind of energy, okay? But the second house, eighth house axis has to do with my money, your money, how I feel, how you feel, right? So we're going to talk about this, but let's just understand that from like a general perspective, this is a good energy because the work that you do, right, that second house, it could bring you a lot more money, and not only money, but enjoyment having to do with what it is that you do. So your bank account might change, and your relationship and money and attitude with and to and for money is also going to change. And you may feel differently about what you have and what you can buy, right? Because your affluence can really grow in this energy, Aquarius. Your life will reflect more stability to you. Now, hopefully, that North Node in Pisces will leave you in a comfortable position. That's what should be happening if we're working this really nicely. But the Achilles heel that you have to really work on avoiding, or at least be aware of, is trying to seek your self-worth and finances through other people. Right? That's a little caveat with this, because again, we do have that South Node in the eighth house of endings and beginnings. There's no stability in the eighth house. So we have to look at how that can show up, where you say to yourself, I can only feel okay about myself through validation and financial support of others, which can lead you into a trap of an unending search for an actual soulmate, where you say to yourself, okay, if I only have this one person's special energy, I'm going to feel complete. If I can only have somebody else give me money, then I'm going to feel comfortable. In truth, you can only achieve a sense of completeness within yourself, and it's never going to come as a byproduct of a relationship or of whatever somebody else can give you. Not even with a soulmate energy, not even with a huge windfall. Because you have to understand that what's given can be taken away. So there's got to be a lot of wisdom that's exercised here. So no matter how much support and validation you get from others, you can always feel like you need more in this kind of energy. And it has to do with the fact that I mean, I feel like I could do like 2 hours just on you guys, okay? A lot of it has to do with the fact that Pluto is in your sign right now. So you are changing exponentially. That could be a little unsettling. Pluto does rule Scorpio. It's a water energy. It's very hard for us to feel grounded. We're not supposed to feel grounded because we are, we're changing, you change wherever our Pluto energy is, we're changing. And you are feeling it. If it's your Aquarius rising, you're feeling it in your first house of self. If it's in your sun sign, you're feeling it in your ego consciousness and your life goals. So these are things that are very, very real. And if you don't feel stable and secure enough within your own life right now, you could really look to eighth house, other people's money, other people's love and care, even if it's not money, because eighth house is not only money. So we have to like balance that out, okay? For you, especially during this 18-month period, others' validation of you or toward you, other people's, giving you money all the time, that's a false barometer of whether you're on the right track in your own life right now, right? So living according to standards that you know are right for you, regardless of what other people think, that's what's going to help you develop that sense of self-worth that you need to really kind of grow into, right? You certainly do if you have any tendency to be enmeshed with other people's issues or other people's lives, where you're too enmeshed, you're too in other people's business, right? You have to pull yourself out of that and just simply walk your path. If your friends want to make, silly decisions in a relationship, if somebody wants to make some sort of silly decision, you can't enmesh yourself, right? Because this is a transit that's really going to call forth your energy of independence and focusing on your sense of self and self-esteem, and not in a selfish way, but in a way of almost like it also activates this energy like, oh, maybe I need to mind my own business. Maybe I need to mind my own business, that kind of thing as well. And that's going to be very, very beneficial for you. Okay. Because what this transit can bring is this real feeling, right? Where what you really want is to merge with someone else's energy and feel mutual empowerment. You could feel that in a business situation, you could feel that in relationship, but it's this idea of merging with other and feeling stronger because of that. Yet, what this is really going to be supporting you to do is kind of like standing on your own 2 feet. At least for a bit, right? Saturn is going to be in there until June, is going to dip into Aries energy for the 3 months over the summer, then go back into that Pisces energy until spring of 2026. So you are going to have Saturn, in the house helping you out with that. But this is about getting in touch with your own values. You have to become very strong within yourself and be aware of what it is that you want, and then tune into what is real and meaningful for you when it comes to relationship, when it comes to your surroundings, even. Again, we're talking about your money, your sense of self, your self-worth, how you show up in relationship, how you handle money, really looking at these things, right? And as your own energy becomes stronger, you are automatically going to attract people of similar energy who you can ultimately end up forming very successful partnerships with. Um, you're also in this energy for 18 months, you're also a master builder. So, and this is anything, whether it comes to relationship, a home, or a business, you're a master builder in this energy, right? I mean, and this is only when you're willing to follow the rules, though, right? So you want to keep an open mind, but you have really good energy here for that. You can excel in any kind of profession that's in alignment with what you find truly valuable and not just for the paycheck. That's where you're going to ultimately really end up growing during this 18-month period. You have a very special gift for being very effective in crisis situations, and you have a natural affinity to and with psychology. Your awareness of needs and desires of other people can help further your own aims at this time. Your ability to see the bottom line in situations, you could see things that other people can't see, um, because you're ruled by Uranus, which is highly intelligent. So that's going to end up being very helpful for you, especially when it comes to um, building your sense of self, building your self-esteem, and also fueling your bank account. Now, attributes for you guys to develop over the next 18 months, or at least you really want to pay attention to everything that we've been talking about. But attributes to develop would be loyalty and awareness of boundaries, really important there. Taking things one step at a time and developing a true sense of self-worth, awareness of your personal values as well as patience, honoring expressed needs of self as well as others, and balancing out what you need, what other people need, and balancing it out. So not being too giving, but also, we're to the point where you're a doormat, but also, not being selfish either. Enjoying the physical five senses as well, exercising gratitude, awareness of nurturing from just the earth and nature, you know, getting out more is really good. Exercising forgiveness and persistence, not giving up on anything. Tendencies to leave behind any sort of attraction to a crisis situation, over concern to other people's business, impatience, inappropriate intensity, judgmental tendencies, preoccupation with the psychological motivations of others, resistance to cooperating with what others want, overreacting, destroying something in order to eliminate just one part of it, and obsessive compulsive tendencies, right? So some affirmations. To win, I need to proceed slowly and persistently, step by step. When you live by your own values, you will feel good about yourself, right? That kind of energy, Aquarius, okay? So I do hope this was helpful in some way. I think this is very exciting when you have a lot of energy on without Pluto in the first house and this 18-month transit. I love these next like almost 2 years for you to get into something that you really resonate with, that you're really going to be building your bank account with and feeling really good about yourself at the same time, you know? And also, if handled well, taking very good care of your health. Don't ignore your health at this time. Okay, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye. Last but definitely not least, we saved the best for last. Pisces, you are the North Node energy for the next 18 months. So this is a time to really envision who it is that you want to be, who it is that you wish to become. Because that North Node in your sign is going to align with your first house of selfhood, identity, as well as appearance with the best version of yourself. Your journey of self-discovery has officially begun, and over the next 18 months, you're going to go through a series of experiences, trials, and tribulations to find out who you really, really are. You could change your style to fit to the personality that you wish to embody, right? So you might be changing your hair. You might be changing your clothes. Your personality might change depending on your inner self work. There might be times when you feel lost, especially if you don't recognize the person you're becoming. But know that you will feel secure and confident in your identity by the end of this nodal transit, which is July 26th of 2026. This is to really embrace the butterflying that's going on here. You are metamorphosizing into a new version of yourself, and all of that is amazing. So I have to give you the caveats of the South Node. That's in Virgo. That's opposing in that seventh house of relationships, right? What needs to be let go. Because this is an 18-month transit where you really do need to become assertive and self-empowered, Pisces, because you can tend to be indecisive, always considering the needs of others first. Now, it's your turn. Now you need to discover a sense of your own identity and initiate your own projects. And this is really about serving other people as well. Because you, in your truest form, are very unconditionally loving and giving. So you need to let go of possessive and passionate personal relationships in order to carry out a different kind of experience to other people, right? So you understand, it's like letting go of, especially if you're in any kind of situation where it's like you always feel like you're doing all the work in a relationship. where somebody is being really controlling or a little sketchy in relationship. Or there might be a reason for you to really work on the relationship with your second born child as well, because that's seventh house as well. But you have to pay special attention because there is a trap here in this energy. And the trap is this need to be, it's almost like a preoccupation with the idea of justice because that's seventh house and that's where the south node is. So you have to kind of let go and balance out this idea of it's got to be just. My survival is dependent on everybody playing fair with me, right? That should signal that you're on very shaky ground and it should be a red flag that you're not on the right path. If you become obsessed with what's fair and what's not, you are very giving by nature, right? Yet your need for justice and absolute fairness can easily be a bottomless pit. So you can start playing fair with yourself by not giving beyond a point that feels comfortable. Now, seventh house, I don't care if it's a marriage partner, an intimate partner, a boss or bosses, or your energetic output at work. There's got to be this point where you're like, okay, I'm sacrificing my own joy and happiness now. I can't do that. You also need to avoid in this energy over the next 18 months this unending search for an ideal committed partnership. Where you're saying to yourself, okay, if only I could find the perfect partner, Virgo, right? Virgo's very critical, right? And that's seventh house. I'll feel complete within myself. And the feeling of completeness you seek can only be achieved, only individually. It's never going to be a byproduct of a relationship, no matter how awesome your partner is. I don't care if you are with the most amazing person. Because at the end of the day, right, the bottom line here is that you're never going to gain enough approval from others to have permission to be yourself. Now, that's a really important thing to unpack while you have the North Node in your first house of personality in the face that you show the world. Nobody's ever going to be able to give you enough thumbs up, enough accolades, enough money, enough anything to feel totally comfortable to be you. But once you go in your own direction, the appropriate people are going to be drawn to your life to support you and to ultimately give back what it is that you're looking for. Because all you really want is you just want to be harmonious, right? You really do. You want fairness. You want support with one partner, one boss, or one work situation, right? Where you can feel comfortable to be you, where you can just love. But to achieve this, you need to be your own partner first. You can't look across the wheel to other people to fill your cup. By getting to really, really know yourself, you begin to do things that bring you joy and increase your level of your sense of self, your sense of balance, and the justice that you seek. Because to be honest, like once you start to balance yourself out, you're not even going to care as much if somebody is acting a little shady towards you, you're really going to be able to evaluate. You can be like, all right, well, I don't have to engage with that. That doesn't have to be part of my experience. I'm not allowing that to rule me anymore. It's only by when we give so much power to that area where we can really feel it, right? So you need to be able to do your own thing according to your own impulses without being limited by the input of other people. You are a leader, an innovator, and a pioneer, Pisces. You are. So you really need a profession or a relationship or some sort of engagement with other, right? Because it's opposing in that seventh house that allows you the independence to follow your own instincts. And you have to do that. Like that's part of your journey right now. That's part of the gift is being on your own journey. It doesn't mean that everybody's getting divorced because the South Node is in Virgo, but it does mean you have to make the decision to stop looking at that person so closely that you're recognizing what they don't do correctly or putting yourself in a situation where they're taking advantage of you. That's not okay. That's got to be balanced out. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to be in the relationship, but it does mean that while there is no such thing as absolute fairness and absolute anything, right? These things are on scales. There's got to be a balancing out between you and other, what you give and what you receive, what they give and what they receive. And there's got to be a balancing out there between the me versus we, you know, the self and other. There's got to be a balancing out there, right? Yeah, you know. The thing is that a lot for a lot of you, like a lot of Pisces past life energies, you have this gift for being able to see the other person's point of view and negotiate, diplomatically the idea of what fairness entails, that's like naturally within you, right? So, and you could use that to better yourself, better your life, to better your own success, for sure. But not everybody has that. So it's just something that you need to be mindful of. So attributes that you should certainly be focusing on while the North Node is in your sign, first and foremost, is independence, self-awareness. Self-awareness should probably be first, then independence. Trusting your own impulses and be courageous. Constructive self-interest. Moderation in giving. Self-nurturance. You can't forget to remember you. Tendencies to leave behind. Seeing yourself through others' eyes, debilitating selflessness, analysis paralysis, being super duper nice, obsessive attachment to the fairness and justice that I mentioned, codependence, attachment to external harmony, or a tit for tat mentality. Really want to be careful there. Some healing affirmations you want to say to yourself, put them on the mirror, put them on a card, or just say them out loud. They do help, okay? When I trust myself and follow my impulses, everybody wins. Before I could support others, I have to learn how to nurture myself. I can help others best by truly being myself. It's okay not to be nice all the time. A sense of balance and strength comes from being fair with myself, right? Balancing out. That's what the nodes are about, right? But you do have that beautiful, blessed energy in your first house. So I love it. I love it, Pisces. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful in some way. You guys take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.